Noa ia e Māori nganga tokoa. I'm Alice Lolo here and welcome to the Pacific.
I see what you did there with the Orotuma Language Week intro. Kia ora, tātou katoa. I'm Johnson Ida. Here's what's coming up on the show.
PNG and Bougainville leaders re-engage on a pathway to independence.
The returnees wanting to help stop Tonga's drugs problem.
And we explored Te Aonimenu, the lost islands of the Pacific.
But first, he served as the country's Prime Minister for 16 years. Now Fiji's High Court has sentenced Frank Bainimarama to 1 year in prison. The conviction relates to his role in influencing a police investigation into the funding of the region's biggest university, the University of the South Pacific, in 2019. His then Police Commissioner, Sitiveni Kiliho, received a 2-year sentence on similar charges. It's been a long-running saga. Mr. Bainimarama has been in and out of court for months now. So, is it finally over with the handing down of a custodial sentence? Joining from Suva is our Fiji reporter, Lithe Mavono. Bula Lithe, now the prison sentence starts immediately. Where will Mr. Bainimarama be held and will he get any special treatment?
Johnson, Bulavinaka, Mr. Bainimarama did immediately get taken away by police and handed over to Department of Corrections officials. It is my understanding that he is at the Namboro Corrections Facility, which is about an hour outside of the capital city, Suva. And yes, he will receive special treatment. As part of his mitigating application, Bainimarama's lawyers did put in a word with the Chief Justice as to Bainimarama's senior age as well as medical conditions that he apparently has. And so the Chief Justice did instruct the Department of Corrections to ensure that Bainimarama gets the medical attention and the medical considerations that he needs.
Now, the former PM is still very popular. We saw security at the courthouse was very high. How have his supporters reacted?
It was quite surreal. His supporters were quite despondent. His family were visibly upset and sad. His wife was crying. People not quite sure how to adjust to this scene of seeing a man who was the most powerful in this country for the better part of 2 decades now being led away in handcuffs.
Now, lastly, is this going to be ongoing? Can he appeal?
Not only are his lawyers appealing the conviction and now the sentence, but they're also appealing the suitability of the head of the state prosecution's office to be in that position, as well as the appointment of the Chief Justice who presided over today's sentencing. So it's a bit of a legal wrangle and a bit of a legal maze for us to work through. But here in the High Court, his sentence has been handed down. He does go to jail where he can appeal and attempt to appeal in the higher courts of Fiji. Johnson.
From Suva, Vinaka Vakalevu Lithe.
Vinaka.
The rate of deportations from the US, New Zealand and Australia to the Pacific has increased over the last decade. Most are sent back after spending time in prison. Many of these people arrive in the islands with no support and are shunned by family, which means some return to criminal activity to get by. But in Tonga, some of these strangers in their own land have turned their lives around and hope to be the answer to, rather than the cause, of the kingdom's drug crisis.
Sometimes some of us say, ask God and ask Him and see, why did we get sent here? Or why you punish me? I've already been punished so many times.
I was born in 1979 here in the kingdom. My mom is from Whahewa, my dad is from Habakatolo. Left there when I was 2 and I've been living my life back in LA. My parents did their responsibility as in parent-wise. Tell me what to do, tell me what not to do.
Gang murders may have declined in the city of Los Angeles, but there's still a lot of violence poisoning the larger county area.
Teachers used to ask the students back then in the school, what you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I'm gonna be a dope dealer. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I made my decision to live the life I wanted to live, which was the fast lane.
I was incarcerated for 22 years. When I got released, they deported me here right away in 2019, and I've been here in Tonga ever since. They came and visited me, my wife and our children. But I've been here like 4 years, going on 5, and I haven't seen my wife and children. Well, it's very hard, you know.
The police, the CIA, and FBI, they escorted me here. When I got off the plane, they took the shackles off my hands and legs when I hit the Tongan ground. The police here in Tonga came to me. I tell them, Kataki Bay, how am I gonna get home? I have nowhere to get home. They told me, that's the road, find your way home.
O fia ai kauwhanonga ahoni, ke mau iheni ia uhinga. Ko uhinga te matala noa iai, koe whiri, ke tonu.
I see a lot of greatness in Moldova. The choices you make today, here ahoni, that's gonna define your tomorrow. I got shot when I was 9. I made my choice when I was 9. To be this individual. This who I was. But my choice today, fukakoa Tonga. He koha, tamasi Tonga.
Deportees, when they translated to Tongan, they say deporta, right? It was a very negative term to use, deporta, because automatically you are a bad person. If you know somebody has been deported, he must have committed a serious crime somewhere. So we changed it to, instead of deportees, to returnees, fokikiapi, returning home.
Where we're about to go is where we started building our bungalow of our Data Dream Foundation. As soon as you enter, you'll see the sign right there. It says, relax and have a coconut. We relax, but what's the coconut? People come and look at this and see the beauty of it. But to me, I, and some of the founders, we came together as one to build this within less than a week.
So Dare to Dream was established in 2019. It was founded by returnees, 5 returnees who were sent back from the US. From there, they really prayed about finding key agents of change, people who would be wanting to make a difference. When they arrive at the airport, sometimes they may not have families that are there. And I know some of our founders, they had to start from scratch. There was no one there.
Majority of them break down and cry because they actually feel the love when I go and explain myself to them and let them know that, you know, there's nothing wrong with returning back home. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We all make mistakes in life.
There isn't a proper program or reintegration program, which is what we're aiming to work towards.
Then when we come back over here and get this stigma, easy to fall back to our old ways. I'm not gonna raise up my family getting 90 cents an hour, $1 an hour. 8-hour shift is nothing, you know? I fell back to my ways of slinging ice. Till 2018, a little kid came and asked me if I had some rice. Later did I know he was talking about ice, but I thought he was talking about rice to eat. And I told him, yeah, they'll come tomorrow the next morning at 7. They'll be open, they have a bag of rice for you. But if you're hungry, I'm gonna go get you some barbecue. He goes, no, we're gonna meet at the house. This kid is 10 years old, you know, 10 years old. That's in 2018, imagine now, 2024. Everybody and their mama doing it.
The drug issue is the big talk right now.
Police have seized up to 15 kilograms of methamphetamine in the latest crackdown on hard drugs in the kingdom.
Young kids are being exposed to drugs every day. That's the $1 million question. What are we going to do?
For us that we've been in the States, we know pretty much who's the users, the people they selling and stuff like that. We know by the way they look, the behavior and everything they do. It's easier for us to spot those kind of people. I participated in police call, which is like a neighborhood watch, and we can report any illegal activities to the village officer, and from there the village officer can contact the police.
They know how to actually talk to individuals who are going through those issues, whether they're a drug user or they're facilitators of selling drugs. Because of the lived experience they have, their influence will always be different. And that's something that they always emphasize. If you give them a chance and provide an enabling environment for them to do what they're passionate about, you know, I'm sure we will be able to, you know, really help more of those that are struggling to reintegrate, the returnees, and also continue to combat the issue of drugs in the country.
It's a young generation that matters, because that's the target these drugs people is gonna go for, is the young kids. And once the young kids is damaged, then there's no future for Tonga, you know. There's really no hope after that.
Malo na kamata be he kaunga mea. Da kamata be de filigo ai tapaka. O hoko ai be ke ngai mea o nai whakafoki mai au ai koi whaitoa kona tapu. Da ofa peu te kin mo wala ke mea koni.
Make your choice today, choose the right. Takila mili. Ta, ua, lima. Ofat motolu. Choose the right. I'm telling you, if you're a better person tomorrow than today.
You seem to be very emotional doing this work. Why does it mean so much to you?
It's the future of the world. Right now, right here, with all our might.
Okay, now to PNG, where leaders of the autonomous region of Bougainville have met with PNG lawmakers in Port Moresby for talks to map a pathway towards independence. After years of stagnation, there does appear to have been a breakthrough that could re-energise a process that's moved very little since a referendum on the issue in 2019. After years of talks, both sides have now agreed to allow a UN moderator to intervene and fast-track the management of contentious issues that have stalled the post-referendum process. Importantly, both sides have said the moderator should come from the Pacific.
Within the context of the moderator, I believe he will guide us as to the completion of the ongoing long struggle for the people of Bougainville for independence.
And it has been a long struggle. Independence is a sensitive issue in Bougainville and for Papua New Guinea. Bougainville has a fractured past. In the 70s and 80s, mining brought enormous wealth to the island region. The then world's largest open pit mine at Panguna accounted for almost half of PNG's exports. But soon tensions emerged over environmental damage and the uneven distribution of wealth, as thousands of workers from PNG flocked to Bougainville. A decade-long civil war broke out that killed as many as 20,000 people, and only ended with a carefully negotiated peace agreement in 2001.
After 10 years of conflict and 3 years of peace negotiations, the Bougainville War is officially over.
That paved the way for the 2019 vote, with 98% of people voting in favour of independence.
It has been a long, tiring journey, We have now come to the end of the line.
But since then, questions have lingered as to what independence would actually look like. And there are constitutional complexities, meaning lawmakers in Port Moresby are urging patience.
Due process must flow in terms of national consultation.
Bougainville lacks the basic services and infrastructure required to be an effective sovereign state. And at the moment, there is no viable economy outside of mining.
Will independence be possible without Panguna mine? I don't think it is possible.
There's thought to be billions of dollars of copper and gold still in the ground at the now shut Panguna mine. Talks about reopening it are ongoing, but the same old issues around the environment and wealth distribution remain.
This hole is cause of many thousands of people's death.
Regardless, for many here, a political settlement that is anything other than full independence could provoke backlash. Even here, China and geopolitics loom large. President Toroama met with US officials in Washington last year, trying to gather diplomatic and financial support, warning Beijing could step in to fill the gap. Australia, historically a mediator between PNG and Bougainville, says it's an internal matter for PNG. For now, this meeting could be a small step forward, the first in a long time.
The vote was for political independence and nothing less, nothing more.
To unpack all this, joining me now, we have our ABC Pacific PNG reporter, Belinda Cora. Hello, Bells.
Hello.
Now, Bells, you were at the joint supervisory meeting. How significant is the agreement to include a UN moderator from the Pacific in this process?
A very important question, Johnson, and it's been actually in debate for the last couple of years and the last couple of months as well. So yesterday's resolution for a moderator to be actually inside the process eventually after the terms of reference is put up is a milestone in the process itself, in seeing that there is a win-win on both sides, and of course a positive result at the end.
So can we take a look at the key issues that the two sides are in disagreement over? What are those?
There were issues of economic challenges, of course, benefit sharing of resources. It was important on both sides that despite the Constitution highlighting how important it was for the ratification to take place on the floor of Parliament, of the PNG Parliament, how that is supposed to happen was something that was missing. And I should say that is how it highlights the importance of the moderator, which has now been a resolution from yesterday, and hopefully can look into that process for both sides.
Now, Bougainville says it wants to be independent by 2027. Now we have some new pledges. What happens next? Are we actually any closer to a concrete pathway forward?
I guess what is important, and from covering this process from peace agreement, from the crisis to peace agreement, and of course the referendum in 2019 to today, 2024, where we have continued JSB meetings, it is important to have an open dialogue, I should say, and also trying to look at ways in resolving these sections of the Constitution, of course, of the process itself. I believe we may have a positive outcome in what the President of ABG is expecting.
Thank you for that, Bells. I just want to quickly change tack for a little bit and touch on the latest Reporters Without Borders Index, which ranks countries in terms of media freedom. Now, when it comes to the Pacific, our most populous country, PNG, has slipped from 59th in 2023 to 91st place this year. Now, you're also the Secretary of the PNG Media Council. Why do you think PNG's ranking has dropped?
Yes, it has been a very question that a lot of media houses and of course the public itself that has been following news in Papua New Guinea have been also asking, as the Secretary and a long-time Secretary for the Media Council here, and of course a long-time journalist in Papua New Guinea. It is a big concern. It shows and it highlights challenges that still remain, challenges of quality of reporting, media code of ethics, retention rates in many of the newsrooms. The drop in itself indicates there still needs to be more work to be done.
That's all we have time for, Belinda. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so across the Pacific, there are some pretty epic myths and legends. What would be some of your faves?
It would be the legend of Hikuleo, the mighty goddess of our spiritual land, Pulotu. And yours?
Well, I do like the Adoro Spirits myths from Solomon's, who are part fish and part man. But have you heard of the story of the islands of Te Onimenu?
I have not. Tell me more.
Wow. Oral traditions passed down through generations in central Solomon Islands. There are people who talk of a whole island being swallowed by the ocean. Now, to outsiders, this might sound a bit fanciful, but scientists say that there is plenty of reason to take this seriously.
If you open up Google Earth and head to central Solomon Islands, you'll find yourself here, looking at a dark blue patch of water in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's about the same size as dots of land that make up the nearby islands.
It's a spot known as Lark Shoal, and this bathymetric map confirms that the sea floor is only about 9 metres deep here, and then it very quickly drops off up to 6 kilometres below sea level into this ocean trench. This is a pretty shallow spot for out in the middle of the ocean. So what exactly is it?
Lark Shoal is a seamount. It's an area of shallow water in the central Solomon Islands, and it's the place where perhaps 2 or 3 islands disappeared very rapidly a few hundred years ago, and those islands were named Te Onimenu. We're not sure exactly when Te Onimenu disappeared. According to the local residents' oral traditions, it seems to have been sometime between the visit of the explorer Mendana and the explorer James Cook.
I am one of the direct descendants of Te Onimanu on my mother's side.
This is Tony Hiorake. He's the director of the Solomon Islands National Museum. He says the story of how Te Onimanu disappeared has been passed down through his family's oral histories.
After the island sank, some of my ancestors survived, and they floated on banana trunks and other debris.
Tony's ancestors settled on Ulawa, where they continue to live today.
Every evening after dinner, we normally hear the elders in the family talking about those stories, and not only about Te Onimanu, but about different animals, different plants, different ways of fishing, hunting, that people who used to inhabit Te Onimanu practiced.
Tony and Patrick set out together to document oral histories from 4 places where survivors of Te Onimanu are believed to have settled. They discovered memories of the island were ubiquitous. People in surrounding islands all had memories of Te Onimanu.
Most of the relatives that I've talked to seem to tell the same story.
Many recall Te Onimenu's tragic fate began when a woman named Saweteo from the island married Rorai Menu, a man from nearby Alite Island. One day, Saweteo eloped with another man, Kalitalu, and returned to Te Onimenu. Rorai Menu became angry and vowed to take his revenge on Saweteo and especially Kalitalu for bringing him such shame. So Rorai Menu hatched a plan whereby he would travel to purchase a wave curse to destroy Te Onimenu. Rorai Menu obtained a wave curse with 8 destructive waves. When he arrived at Alite, he climbed onto a high rock and watched with grim satisfaction as Te Onimenu was gradually swamped and crushed by the waves. The 8th wave completely submerged the island.
The people who survived this terrifying ordeal were driven to nearby islands. And yes, while the exact details might be just a little different, Professor Nunn thinks there is a pretty obvious link between the evidence of a sunken island at Lark Shoal and the oral traditions of the central Solomon Islands.
So I think the tendency now, particularly over the last 10 years or so, is for scientists to take these kinds of stories far more seriously than they once did. So actually as memories of catastrophic events.
But how on earth does an island just suddenly disappear?
Te Oni Menu, where Lark Shoal is today, they all sit along the top of an undersea ridge. And that ridge drops very, very steeply on its eastern side. And this is a place where one section of the Earth's crust is moving down underneath another section like that. And what happens is that they move past each other like this, but then they slip. And whenever there's a slip, there's a huge earthquake on the sea floor that shakes everything on the sea floor, including the islands. And sometimes these earthquakes cause landslides that are so gigantic they cause entire islands to slip suddenly beneath the ocean surface.
Through an analysis of seismic data, Professor Nunn identified a buildup of debris from landslides inside the trench, which suggests that the ridge is inherently unstable.
The case of Te Oni Manu is a good example where science can corroborate oral histories.
There are thousands of islands in the Pacific Basin, and many of those formed in places where there's a lot of tectonic activity. And in all of those places, it causes islands both to form and to disappear. So my feeling is that scientists should be paying a lot more attention to bodies of surviving oral tradition where they still exist, in places like the Central Solomon Islands, because there's information there that can inform our pasts, but also help us manage the future.
And also about maintaining and keeping the traditional cultures and stories, legends and myths that people have about Te Oni Manu.
What a very cool story. I mean, I wonder if a certain someone could also disappear.
You know what? We just want to make a quick shout out to Cordelia Brown for the graphics and animation work on that story.
That's our show for this week. Be naka for watching.
Look at you.